Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special English learning session. I'm truly delighted to have each of you here today because what we're going to explore isn't just another tip for learning English. It's the secret that turns knowing English into using English, the missing link between memorizing words and having real conversations, and the fuel that keeps you going when learning feels hard. That secret, as you might have guessed from our title, is confidence. Let me start by painting a picture I've seen hundreds of times in English classrooms, online courses, and even on the street. Imagine a student named Lena. She's been studying English for 3 years. Every night, she spends an hour reviewing grammar books. She can tell you the difference between present perfect and simple past without hesitation. She has a flashcard app on her phone, and she's memorized over 2,000 words. But last week, a foreign tourist stopped her on the street and asked, "Excuse me, where is the nearest bus stop?" Lena's face turned red. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She knew the answer. She walked past that bus stop every day, but her hand shook, and she just shook her head and said, "Sorry, I don't know." Later, she cried a little, feeling angry at herself. Why couldn't I just say it? I know the words. Does this sound familiar? Maybe not exactly, but I think many of you have felt that same gap between what you know in your head and what you can say out loud. That's where confidence comes in. When people hear confidence, they often think of loud voices or big smiles. But in English learning, confidence is quieter and more powerful. It's the little voice inside you that says, "Even if this isn't perfect, I'll try." It's the courage to turn, "I know the word bus stop," into "the bus stop is over there." Without that courage, all the grammar rules and vocabulary lists stay locked in your notebook. They never become your language. Today, we're going to take this idea step by step. We'll talk about why confidence isn't just nice to have, but essential, how the fear of mistakes holds us back, and how to fight that fear. Simple daily practices that build confidence without stress. Real stories of learners who turn shyness into courage. How to use confidence in everyday situations like ordering coffee or asking for directions. And finally, how to keep that confidence growing for months and years. And because I want you to feel this, not just hear it, I'll share small, relatable moments, stories of people like you, exercises you can try tonight, and ways to turn "I'm scared" into "I can do this." By the end, my hope is that you'll leave not just with new ideas, but with a little more courage to speak up in your next English moment. Part 1. Why confidence is the foundation of English learning. Let's start with the most important question. Why does confidence matter more than almost anything else when learning English? Let's go back to the classroom example I mentioned earlier. 2 learners, same class, different levels of confidence. The first learner is Sophie. She's been studying English for 5 years. Her notebook is filled with color-coded grammar notes. She can recite long passages from textbooks, and she scores top marks on written tests. But when the teacher asks, "Who can tell me about their favorite hobby?" Sophie slumps in her chair. She thinks, if I say, "I like painting," will I use the right verb? What if I forget the word for watercolor? Everyone else will sound better. So she stays quiet. Even when the teacher calls on her directly, she mumbles, I don't know," and looks down at her desk. The second learner is Jake. He's only been studying English for 1 year. He still mixes up he and she sometimes, and he often uses simple words like good instead of great or wonderful. But when the teacher asks about hobbies, Jake raises his hand right away. He says, I like play football. Every Saturday, I play with my friends. It's fun. His sentence isn't perfect. He should say, I like playing, but the teacher understands him. She smiles and says, That's fantastic, Jake. Tell us more about your football games. Jake lights up. He talks for another minute, making more mistakes, but he's happy because he's communicating. After class, he asks the teacher, Did I say it right? She corrects his play to playing gently, and he writes it down in his notebook. The next week, when the topic comes up again, Jake says, I like playing football. No mistake this time. Who will get better faster? Almost always Jake. Not because he knows more, but because he's willing to use what he knows. That's the magic of confidence. It turns knowledge into action. Sophie has more English in her head, but Jake is turning his English into a tool, something he can use to talk, to share, to connect. And every time he uses that tool, he gets better at it. Let me tell you about another person I know, Daniel, the Brazilian music lover I mentioned earlier. Daniel's story doesn't end with singing in a cafe. Let's go deeper. When Daniel first started singing alone in his room, he didn't just sing any songs. He picked simple ones like Hey Jude by the Beatles because he knew most of the words. At first, he only sang the chorus. He was too scared to try the verses. But every night, he added one more line. After a week, he could sing the whole song. Then he tried recording himself with his phone. When he listened back, he thought, my pronunciation of na 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 is okay, but Jude sounds weird. So he looked up a slow version of the song online and practiced saying Jude over and over until it felt right. One day, his friend Carlos came over. Carlos was also learning English, and he heard Daniel singing through the door. He knocked and said, That sounds great. Sing it again. Daniel was embarrassed at first, but Carlos said, I can't even sing one line in English. You're brave. So Daniel sang the song again. Carlos clapped and said, Let's sing together. They practiced every weekend, and soon they started posting short videos of themselves singing on a small social media group for English learners. People in the group left comments like, You guys sound awesome, and can you teach me that song? 3 months later, a local cafe had an open mic night for English learners. Daniel was scared. What if people laughed? But Carlos said, We don't have to be perfect. We just have to have fun. They signed up, and when it was their turn, Daniel's hands were sweaty. But he took a deep breath and started singing. Halfway through the song, people in the cafe started clapping along. When they finished, everyone cheered. A woman from Canada even came over and said, I love that song. You did a great job. Daniel couldn't stop smiling. After that, he started a small English singing club at his school. Now he helps other learners sing English songs because he knows that singing isn't just about music. It's about using English without fear. Daniel's story shows us something crucial. Confidence gives life to your English. Without it, your words stay in your head. With it, your words become part of conversations, songs, and connections. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. And the more present you are with your English, the faster you'll learn. Part 2. The fear of mistakes, your biggest barrier, and how to beat it. If confidence is the key to learning English, then the fear of mistakes is the lock that keeps that key from working. I've never met an English learner who hasn't felt this fear. Maybe you've thought, what if I call a fork a knife? What if I say I go instead of I went? What if the person I'm talking to looks confused or laughs? These thoughts are so normal, but they're also dangerous because they stop you from trying. Let's think about how children learn language. When a 2-year-old says, "Me want cookie," do their parents shake their heads and say, "No, that's wrong. You should say, 'I want a cookie'?" No. They smile and say, "Yes, here's your cookie." The child gets the message. My words worked. I communicated. Then, over time, the parent might say, "Can you say I want a cookie?" And the child learns to correct themselves. Children don't wait to be perfect before they speak. They speak because they want to be heard. That's why they learn so fast. So why do we as adults get so stuck on mistakes? There are two big reasons. First, we compare ourselves to others. When you're in a class, you might think Maria speaks so fluently. If I talk, I'll sound stupid next to her. Or you might watch a native speaker on TV and think, I'll never sound like that. So why try? But here's the truth. Maria wasn't always fluent. She made mistakes too. She just kept speaking. And native speakers, they learn English as babies, not as adults. Comparing yourself to them is like comparing someone who's been riding a bike for 20 years to someone who just got on a bike for the first time. It's not fair. The second reason we fear mistakes is pride. As adults, we're used to being good at things. We go to work, we cook meals, we take care of our families. We know how to do these things well. So when we try to speak English and mess up, it feels like a failure. We think, I'm an adult. I shouldn't make these silly mistakes. But language learning is one of the few things where silly mistakes are part of the process. Every mistake you make is a sign that you're pushing yourself, that you're not staying stuck in what's easy. Let me tell you about Anna. Her story didn't end with that 1-minute talk about her weekend. After that day, Anna started small. Every morning, she told herself one thing in English. Today is Monday. I will speak one sentence in class. At first, it was hard. She'd raise her hand, then lower it again. But one day, the teacher asked, "Who had a good weekend?" Anna took a deep breath and raised her hand. She said, "I go to the park with my sister. We play frisbee." She waited for someone to laugh, but the teacher said, "That's lovely, Anna. Next time, you can say I went to the park, but great job for sharing." That small win gave Anna courage. The next week, she spoke 2 sentences, then 3. A month later, the class had to give short presentations about their favorite book. Anna chose The Little Prince, a book she loved and one she'd read in English with simple words. She practiced at home every night, recording herself and fixing small mistakes like "the prince is kind" instead of "the prince are kind." On the day of the presentation, her hands shook, but she spoke clearly. When she finished, her classmates clapped. One girl even said, "I want to read that book too." Anna felt proud, not because she was perfect, but because she tried. Later, Anna told me, "I used to think mistakes meant I was bad at English. Now I know mistakes mean I'm learning." That's the shift we all need to make. Mistakes aren't failures, they're teachers. Every time you say, "I go," instead of "I went," you're learning to notice the difference between present and past tense. Every time you mix up he and she, you're training your brain to pay attention to pronouns. Mistakes are like little signposts. They point to what you need to practice next. Here's a small exercise you can try tonight to fight the fear of mistakes. Take a piece of paper and write down 3 English mistakes you're scared to make. Maybe it's saying the wrong verb tense or mispronouncing a word. Then, Next to each mistake, write down what you'll do if you make it. For example, if I say, I eat breakfast yesterday, I'll smile and correct myself. Oops, I ate breakfast yesterday. This exercise works because it takes the surprise out of mistakes. You're not waiting for them to happen. You're planning how to handle them. And when you handle a mistake calmly, you'll realize it's not a big deal. Most people will just smile and move on. They might even admire you for trying. Part 3. Simple daily practices to build confidence. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build, one small action at a time. You don't need to fly to an English-speaking country or join an expensive class to do it. You can build confidence right at home, every day, with simple practices that feel easy, not overwhelming. Let's talk about some of these practices, ones that real learners have used to get better. First, let's start with the mirror talk practice. I mentioned this earlier, but let's make it concrete. Every morning when you wake up, go to the bathroom mirror, look at yourself, and say one sentence in English. It can be as simple as, "Good morning. Today is a new day. I feel happy today. I will practice English today." Why does this work? Because it gets you used to hearing your own voice in English. Many of us are scared to speak English because we don't like how we sound. But when you talk to yourself in the mirror, you're creating a safe space. You're not worried about being judged because the only person listening is you. And over time, you'll start to think, my voice in English sounds okay. I can do this. Let's take Tom, a 16-year-old student from China, as an example. Tom used to hate hearing his own voice in English. He thought it sounded funny and wrong. But his English teacher told him to try mirror talk for 5 minutes every day. At first, Tom mumbled. He didn't even look at himself in the mirror. But after a week, he started to speak a little louder. He began adding more sentences. I am brushing my teeth. I am wearing a blue shirt. After a month, he noticed something. When his teacher asked him a question in class, he didn't freeze up anymore. He could say short sentences without thinking too hard, because he'd practiced saying them every morning. Another great practice is shadowing. This is perfect for building confidence in your speaking and improving your listening. Shadowing means listening to a short English audio, like a 30-second clip from a cartoon, a podcast for learners, or even a song, and repeating it right away, like you're shadowing the speaker. You don't need to understand every word. You just need to copy the rhythm and the tone. Let's take Lisa, a 24-year-old office worker who used shadowing to get better. Lisa loved watching Peppa Pig. Yes, the cartoon for kids, because the characters speak slowly and use simple words. Every night after work, she'd watch one 5-minute episode. She'd pause the video after every sentence and repeat it. Peppa loves jumping in muddy puddles. George likes dinosaurs. At first, she couldn't keep up. She'd pause the video many times. But after 2 weeks, she could repeat most sentences without pausing. After a month, she started to mimic the characters' voices. She'd even laugh like Peppa when she said, "Oink, oink." One day, her colleague, who is from Australia, said, "Your English sounds more natural lately. Did you do something different?" Lisa was surprised. She hadn't realized she was getting better. But shadowing had helped her. It taught her how to stress the right words, like loves in Peppa loves jumping, and how to speak with a natural rhythm. And because she was having fun watching cartoons, she didn't feel like she was studying. She felt like she was playing. That's the best part of shadowing. It's practice that doesn't feel like work. Writing is another amazing way to build confidence, and you don't need to write long essays. Try keeping a 3-sentence diary. Every night before bed, write 3 short sentences about your day in English. They can be simple. I went to work today. I ate noodles for lunch. I watched a movie tonight. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to get used to putting your thoughts into English. Let's talk about May, the girl from the small town I mentioned earlier. May's 3-sentence diary started very simple. On day 1, she wrote, I woke up. I ate rice. I studied, but she kept writing. After a week, her sentences got a little longer. I woke up at 7 a.m. I ate rice with eggs. I studied English for 30 minutes. After a month, she started adding feelings. I woke up at 7 a.m. I ate rice with eggs. It was delicious. I studied English for 30 minutes, and I learned 2 new words. After 6 months, May had a whole notebook filled with her diaries. One day, she went back and read the first entry. She laughed and thought, I used to write such short sentences. Now I can write paragraphs. That's when she realized how much she'd improved. And that improvement gave her confidence to try new things, like writing a short email to her pen pal in the US, or even speaking a little English with the foreign tourists who sometimes visited her town. The key to all these practices is consistency, not perfection. You don't need to do them for an hour every day. 10 or 15 minutes is enough. What matters is that you do them every day. Think of it like watering a plant. You don't pour a bucket of water once a week and expect it to grow. You water it a little every day, and over time, it gets bigger and stronger. Confidence is the same way. Small, daily actions add up to big results. Part 4. More stories of real learners. Confidence in action. Stories help us see that confidence isn't just a theory. It's something real people build, even when things are hard. Let's share a few more stories of learners who turned fear into courage, one step at a time. First, let's talk about Mr. Lee, a 62-year-old retired teacher from South Korea. Mr. Lee's grandson lives in the US with his parents, and Mr. Lee wanted to video chat with him in English. At first, he could only say, "Hello, Jake," and "I miss you." When Jake asked, "Grandpa, what did you do today?" Mr. Lee would freeze up. He knew the words to talk about his day. "I walked in the park, I read a book," but he was scared to say them wrong. He thought, Jake is a native speaker. He'll think I'm stupid. One day, Mr. Lee's daughter, Jake's mom, said, "Dad, Jake doesn't care if you make mistakes. He just wants to hear your voice." That made Mr. Lee think. He decided to practice. Every morning, he walked in the park and talked to himself in English. The sky is blue. The birds are singing. I see a dog. He also started watching a slow English news program for seniors, and he wrote down simple sentences from it. Today is sunny. Many people are in the park. After 2 weeks, he had a video chat with Jake. When Jake asked, "Grandpa, what did you do today?" Mr. Lee took a deep breath and said, "I walked in the park. I saw a dog. It was small and brown." Jake's face lit up. He said, "Wow, Grandpa, did you pet the dog?" Mr. Lee smiled and said, "Yes, I pet the dog. It was soft." They talked for 10 minutes, longer than ever before. After the call, Mr. Lee felt so happy he called his daughter and said, "I did it. I talked to Jake in English." Now, Mr. Lee and Jake have a weekly video chat. Mr. Lee still makes mistakes. Sometimes he says, "I walk," instead of "I walked," but Jake always corrects him gently. "Grandpa, it's I walked yesterday." Mister. Lee writes the correction down in his notebook, and he practices it the next day. He says, I'm never going to be perfect, but that's okay. I can talk to my grandson, and that's all that matters. Next, let's talk about Ahmed. We heard about his football fan group earlier, but let's go deeper. Ahmed is 19 years old from Egypt, and he's been a football fan since he was a kid. He joined an online fan group for his favorite team, Liverpool FC, because most of the members spoke English. At first, he was too scared to post anything. He just read the comments. Liverpool played well yesterday. The new player is amazing. He wanted to join in, but he thought my English is too bad. No one will understand me. One day, Liverpool won a big game. Ahmed was so excited that he forgot his fear. He posted, "Great game. Liverpool is the best." Within minutes, someone from the UK replied, "Totally agree. Did you see that goal in the second half?" Ahmed couldn't believe it. Someone had talked to him. He replied, "Yes. It was very good. I was happy." The person wrote back, "Me too. Let's hope they win next week." That small conversation changed everything for Ahmed. He started posting more often. "I think Liverpool will win tomorrow. The weather here is hot. What's the weather like in your country?" People in the group were friendly. When he made a mistake like, "I think Liverpool will win tomorrow," someone would say, "Nice thought. It's will win, but I agree." Ahmed never felt judged. He felt supported. After a few months, the group started having weekly live chats on Zoom to talk about upcoming games. Ahmed was scared to join at first. Talking in real time was harder than writing. But his new friend from the UK said, "Come on, we'll just talk about football. No pressure." Ahmed joined. At first, he only said a few words, "I agree." "Yes." But after a few weeks, he started talking more. He said, "I watched the games with my dad. He likes Liverpool too." People asked him questions. "What's your favorite thing about Liverpool?" He answered, "I like the players. They work hard together." Now, Ahmed is one of the most active members of the group. He even helps new members who are also learning English. He tells them, "Don't worry about mistakes. Just talk about what you love." For Ahmed, English isn't just a language anymore. It's a way to connect with people who share his passion. And that passion gave him the confidence to keep going. Part 5. Using confidence in real-life situations. So far, we've talked about why confidence matters, how to fight the fear of mistakes, and daily practices to build confidence. But how do you use that confidence when you're in a real situation, like ordering coffee in an English-speaking country or talking to a foreign neighbor? Let's walk through some common situations together, and I'll show you how small, confident steps can make a big difference. First, let's imagine you're traveling to London and you stop at a small coffee shop. You want to order a cup of coffee with milk. Your heart is beating fast. You're worried you'll mix up milk and cream or that you'll forget how to say please. Here's how to break it down. Take a deep breath. Before you speak, breathe in slowly for 4 seconds, then out for 4 seconds. This calms your nerves. Start with a simple greeting. You don't need to say anything fancy, just hello or good morning. Most baristas are busy, so a short greeting is perfect. Say what you want clearly. Use short sentences. "One coffee, please." With milk. That's it. No need for long phrases. Listen for the response. The barista will probably say something like, "Sure, that's £2.50, or "Here you go." You can say, "Thank you," and take your coffee. That's it. You just had a real English conversation. And even if you made a small mistake, like saying with milk too quietly, the barista will probably understand. Let's take Clara, a 22-year-old student from Spain who had this exact experience. Clara was traveling in London, and she stopped at a coffee shop. She was so nervous that she almost left, but she remembered what her English teacher said. Even one sentence is a success. She walked up to the counter, took a deep breath, and said, "Hello, one coffee, please, with milk." The barista smiled and said, "No problem. Here you go." Clara said, "Thank you," and walked away. She felt so proud that she took a photo of her coffee and sent it to her friend with the message, "I ordered this in English." Another common situation is asking for directions. Let's say you're in New York and you need to find the subway. You see a person walking down the street. They look friendly. Here's how to approach it. Be polite. Start with "excuse me." This gets their attention without being rude. Ask your questions simply. Say, "Excuse me, where is the subway?" Or, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the subway?" Listen carefully. They might say, "Go straight for 2 blocks, then turn right." If you don't understand, it's okay to ask again. "Sorry, can you say that again?" Most people will be happy to repeat. Thank them. Say "thank you very much" before you leave. Let's talk about Raj, a 28-year-old engineer from India who did this in New York. Raj was in the city for a conference, and he got lost on his way to the subway. He saw a woman walking her dog and thought, "She looks nice. I'll ask her." He said, "Excuse me, where is the subway?" The woman said, "Oh, it's easy. Go straight until you see the big red sign, then turn left." Raj wasn't sure what big red sign she meant, so he said, "Sorry, can you say that again?" The woman smiled and said, "Sure. Walk this way." She pointed straight ahead for 2 minutes. You'll see a red sign that says subway. Turn left there. Raj said, "Thank you," and he found the subway easily. Later, he told his colleague, "I was scared to ask, but it was so easy." The woman was so helpful. These situations might seem small, but they're huge for building confidence. Every time you order coffee or ask for directions, you're proving to yourself, "I can use English in real life. I can communicate." And each success makes the next one easier. Confidence is like a muscle. Every time you use it, it gets stronger. After a few small successes, you'll find yourself wanting to try bigger things. Talking to a stranger on a bus, joining an English-speaking book club, or even giving a short speech in English. Part 6. Building long-term confidence, staying strong when things get hard. Confidence isn't something you build once and then keep forever. It's a journey. Some days you'll feel like you can speak English fluently, and other days you'll feel like you've forgotten everything. That's normal. The key to long-term confidence is knowing how to keep going, even when things are hard. Let's think about Emma, a 17-year-old student from Germany. Emma loved English, and she built up a lot of confidence by practicing every day. She could have short conversations with her English teacher, write small stories, and even watch English movies without subtitles. But then, she joined a new class with students who had lived in the US for a year. These students spoke English like native speakers. They used slang, they talked fast, and they never made mistakes. Emma felt like her English was bad compared to theirs. She stopped raising her hand in class. She stopped writing her 3-sentence diary. She even stopped talking to her English-speaking pen pal. She thought, why bother? I'll never be as good as them. One day, her English teacher noticed she was quiet. She pulled Emma aside and said, "I've seen how hard you've worked. What's wrong?" Emma told her about the new students and how she felt like she wasn't good enough. The teacher said, "Emma, those students had a chance to practice English every day in the US. But you've built your English here on your own. That's amazing. And remember, when they first went to the US, they made mistakes too. They just don't talk about it." The teacher gave Emma a challenge. Every day this week, do one small thing that scares you in English. It could be raising your hand once or writing one sentence in your diary. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to who you were last week. Emma tried it. On Monday, she raised her hand and answered one question. On Tuesday, she wrote a sentence in her diary. On Wednesday, she talked to her pen pal for 5 minutes. By the end of the week, she realized she was feeling better. She wasn't as good as the new students, but she was better than she'd been a month ago, and that was enough. Emma also started keeping a success journal. Every time she did something in English that made her proud, like answering a question in class or understanding a movie scene, she wrote it down. When she felt frustrated, she'd read her journal. She'd see entries like, "I ordered coffee in English," or "I talked to my pen pal for 10 minutes," and think, "I have made progress. I can keep going." Long-term confidence is also about being kind to yourself. When you make a mistake, don't call yourself stupid or bad at English. Instead, say, "That was a mistake, and I'll learn from it." When you feel frustrated, don't give up. Take a break. Watch an English cartoon, listen to a song, or talk to a friend who's also learning English. Sometimes stepping back for a day or two helps you come back stronger. Think of English learning like planting a tree. You don't plant a seed and expect it to be a big tree the next day. You water it, you protect it from the wind, and you wait. Some days it rains, and you worry the seed will drown. Some days the sun is too hot, and you worry it will dry up. But if you keep taking care of it, eventually a small sprout will grow. Then over time, it will become a tree, strong and tall. Confidence is the same way. It takes time, but if you keep taking care of it, it will grow. Conclusion. Today, we've talked a lot about confidence, what it is, why it matters, and how to build it. We've learned that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to try. It's the bridge between the English you know in your head and the English you use in real life. We've learned that mistakes aren't failures. They're teachers that help you get better. We've talked about simple daily practices, mirror talk, shadowing, writing a 3-sentence diary. We've heard stories of learners like Daniel, Anna, Mr. Lee, and Emma. People who turned fear into courage, one small step at a time. And we've talked about using confidence in real situations, like ordering coffee or asking for directions, and how to keep that confidence strong for the long journey. But here's the most important thing I want you to remember. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. You don't need to wait until you know enough English to be confident. You can be confident today with the English you have right now. Even if you only know 100 words, you can use those 100 words with confidence. Even if you make mistakes, you can make them with confidence. So tonight, I want you to take one small step. Maybe it's talking to yourself in the mirror. Maybe it's writing 3 sentences in a diary. Maybe it's watching a short English video and repeating 1 sentence. Whatever it is, do it with courage. And tomorrow, do it again. And next day. English learning is a journey. And confidence is your best friend on that journey. It will help you when you're scared. It will celebrate your successes with you. And it will keep you going when things are hard. So believe in yourself. Speak up, even if your sentences aren't perfect. Write down your thoughts, even if they're simple. Listen carefully, even if you don't understand everything. Every time you take a step, no matter how small, you're building confidence. And every time you build confidence, your English will get better. Soon, you'll look back and think, I can't believe how far I've come. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, the best way to learn English is to use it, and the best way to use it is to be confident. Now go out there and let your English shine.